Hey, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to Life Mastery Decoded for women and women entrepreneurs, where I help you decode the struggles in your life in the areas of health, wealth, and relationships with mind mastery and meditation tools and techniques so that you can live the life that you're proud of. Welcome to today's podcast. Hey ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. I hope today I find you full of imagination and curiosity. And if you are not feeling those things today, then it is my intention that with this episode that I enlighten you and give you one nugget of inspiration towards your transformation to find curiosity and to be able to use and unleash your imagination and understanding the power of your imagination. So picture this. I was probably 11 years old, 12 years old in the summer, and my mom was inside paying bills, and I was laying out on our shed. We had it was kind of like a flat-topped garage, but we never parked any cars in there, and we always just called it the shed. But it was a flat-topped garage, and I always climbed everything. Every time I was outside, you could find me in a tree, on the roof, on top of about anything I could get onto. And I was always climbing the shed. So I'm laying on the shed and I'm watching the clouds go by, and I have a small notebook with me. And life was a little bit challenging, right? You know, I grew up poor, and we were on food stamps and welfare. And even though most of the time my mom had a job, I think she just was sometimes in between jobs and just needed assistance. You know, it was me and my brother living there. And at this particular summer, my brother was gone. He had moved in with my dad. And so now it was just me before my 7th grade school year. And I'm laying on the roof, flat on my back, looking up at the clouds. I have my arms behind my head, and I have a notebook next to me with a pencil because I loved to draw. And so as the clouds are floating by, I would take my pencil and be like, oh, that one looks like a giraffe, or that one looks like an elephant. And then I would take my notepad and I would draw what I saw. And I remember thinking, you know, how hard things were for my mom. And as I was sitting out here, and finished up drawing, I would sit up and look out over the field, and it was just a cornfield to the east of us, or to the west of us, and then a cornfield to the north. And I would just sit on the edge of the shed and dangle my feet over and look out onto the cornfield. And I would imagine that those were my people. Like, that was my audience. And if there was enough of a gentle breeze, it would kind of add to the ambiance of it being an audience. And I remember, you know, in this calming state, I was just drawing, and there's clouds, and it's such a beautiful day. And I stand up on the corner of the shed in front of my cornfield audience, and I would say, there's got to be a better way. You know, my mom is suffering, and, you know, we don't have any money, and we're living in this big house out in the middle of nowhere. And my brothers just moved in with my dad. And, you know, my mom's having a hard time. And there's just got to be a better way. And I would spend all of this time like talking to this audience, and I would visualize that I was on stage and these were my people. And I would talk about maybe something that was going on in school, something hard that was happening in school, you know. And as a 6th grader going into 7th grade, there's all kinds of transitions and developmental stages happening, you know, as you are growing into womanhood, right? And I remember thinking, like, I could have been a comedian. And so I'd stand up on stage and I would tell funny stories, and maybe the wind would pick up and it would kind of rustle the leaves of the corn stalks, and that would be like their applaud or them kind of laughing a little bit. And then I would tell serious stories about maybe a fight I had with a friend at school, or this boy that turned me down and I was really sad about. And the wind would increase, and it would be their compassion. And I just always had such a vivid imagination. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is the use of your imagination as it relates to visualization properties and connecting to your higher self and putting out in the universe what it is that you want to experience in your life. Now, if you haven't listened to The Art of Allowing, I'm going to suggest that you stop this podcast and go back to listen to The Art of Allowing. I believe it's number 22. And to go back and listen to that one to understand fully what it takes to really allow the greatness to flow into your life. Because I have been the one to prevent abundance and prevent love and to prevent joy and friendship and good things to come into my life. So I know what it feels like to not have those things. I know what it feels like, and it sucks, but it gets better as soon as we can let go, as soon as we can start to allow those things to come into our life. But the very first thing we have to do is we have to be open. That's the very first thing we have to do. You can talk to all kinds of closed-minded individuals, and the very first thing that you'll notice is they don't have the thing that they're talking about, but they're not open to allowing it to flow into their lives. And they shut the door in your face anytime you say something that could possibly give them a little inspiration. And it's sad, for me as a coach, and I've talked to plenty of people, and trying to just get them to see the perspective shift, and they just can't. And the whole idea about life and love and happiness is to be able to open your mind, open to the possibilities that it could happen, and open to the possibilities that it could happen to you. Health can flow into your life. You can feel great. You could lose weight. Your body can move the mechanics, and it can feel amazing to be in your physical space. And you can allow abundance, an abundant amount of prosperity and financial freedom to flow into your life. But as soon as I say that, how does it feel? Right? You can feel the restrictions. What if I say you can allow love and friendship and intimate, deep connections into your life? What does it feel like as soon as I say that? You can sense if there's a block. Immediately you say, yeah, but Jen, you don't know my experience. You don't know my past. You don't know my history. And I say, can you change your mind? I told a story in yesterday's podcast about a woman who was suffering depression, and she was in our meditation booth, and all I had to do, my only job, was to get her to look the other way, to turn around and see there's another way. And that's my job here in this podcast, is just to open you up and allow and help you to allow those things that we're always looking for into our life. So today we're going to talk about imagination and visualization. Now, imagination we use every single day, because remember, we talk about thought. Thought happens before everything. Thought happens that creates our emotions, that creates our physical manifestations in the world. Thought equals emotion, which equals physical manifestation in some form. But you can't have something without thought first. So we can kink the hose and scarcity and lack come into our life. We can kink the hose and we can continue to have pain and discomfort. And we can kink the hose and continue to have crappy days and no appreciation and no respect and no friendship. Or we can let go. Let go of the struggle. Let go of the resistance. Let go of the constant pushing against. Get to neutral. Remember, we talk about the vibrational scale from 0 to 10. Well, I'm going to have you add -1 to -10 below it. So now picture this scale that starts at -10 at the bottom and goes up, but counting down. So -10, -9, -8, -7, all the way, -1, 0. And then now above that 0 is 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10. Okay. At 0, that's neutral. You're one or the other, but it's neutral. Okay. If you think about any one of those 3 areas in your life, you think about health, wealth, or relationships, and you think, okay, in my relationships, where am I? Well, if I'm in a crappy relationship, I might be -7. Then I have to look at myself. How do I feel and think about relationships? So get out a piece of paper, write relationships up there, whatever the relationship, whether it's with your kids, your mother, your mother-in-law, your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever. And how do I think about that? And write everything down. Okay? And give it a number. Let's say it's -7. When you write all those things down, do you recognize that you're blocking your own love and success coming in from that area? Because I say you can have it. You can have love. You can marry your best friend. You can laugh every single day. You can have intimate connections that just fill you up with joy every single day. What do you immediately think when I say that? Because I didn't have that. I did not have that relationship, and I looked for it, and I longed for it, And I got into these really ridiculous relationships that were not going to provide that to me. They just weren't. And all the signs were there, and I ignored them because I didn't know these tools. I didn't understand. I wasn't allowing love and friendship into my life so I could find that relationship that was my lifelong partner that I love, we laugh every single day. And I have that now for 10 years. I have that. So I'm asking you, so you write those things down, find out what your number is, and then all our job is right now is to get you to neutral. If you're neutral or above, then we're going to move up a line. And how are we going to do that? First, let's talk about what imagination is. Imagination is the technique of using your visual faculties to create what you want in your life. It's a technique of using your visual faculties. Actually, it really could be all of your senses, but for today's episode, we're going to talk about your visual faculties. But we're using your visual faculties to create what you want in your life. Because here's a technique I want you to try. Let's pretend you want to go have lunch. What's the very first thing you do? You think about what you want to eat. And if you're going to go out to eat lunch, you think about what you want to eat and where you might go get that thing. It all starts with thought. Try it. Try to think about what you want to have for lunch without thinking about it. You can't do it. Try to think about getting up and moving the laundry from the washer to the dryer without thinking about it. You can't do it. You know, you hear people talk about or mention, maybe you've heard this, is let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Don't talk about that. Let it go. Let that go. What the whole energy, even if that person has no idea what they're saying, what they're suggesting is that you bring it up to neutral, because you perpetuating it keeps it down. Picture a balloon. You're standing in waist deep water and you have a balloon in your hand that's full of air. And you take that balloon and you push it under the water. What happens when you let it go? It pops up to the top and floats. Okay, now grab it and push it down again. Now I want you to hold it down there. I want you to think of the thing that you are not allowing into your life, and I want you to hold that balloon under the water. Can you feel the restraint? Feel the strength that your arm needs to keep that balloon under the water. Now I want you to just be open to the idea of this area of your life improving and let go of the balloon. Look at how fast it pops to the top because you're getting to neutral quicker. How many times do you go and complain about your boyfriend or your husband or somebody to someone else? How often do you complain about the thing that you're not allowing? Because I tell you right now, I complain about money forever and ever and ever. When I was in crappy relationships, I complained about my relationships forever and ever and ever. And I tell you, it never changed. So go back to the thinking. We're going to start improving your imagination. Now, when we have gone through school, we start out, you can use your imagination when you're in kindergarten and first grade, second grade, third grade, but then it starts to kind of where the teachers want you to get your head out of the clouds and get back on planet Earth, right? They want you to be practical, be realistic, and that's not going to happen, and you can't do that, and that's not, that's only for dreamers, and, we need to be practical, right? And I don't know about you, but I was told that. However, I didn't listen to a lot of adults in my life. I was a little bit of a troublemaker, but I will tell you, I'm glad that I was, because I didn't want to be the salmon swimming upstream with all the other salmon. We were in art class, and Mrs. Cleveland was our art teacher for my entire school career. I absolutely loved that class, and I really liked her as a teacher. And she says, okay, today we're going to be painting a tree. And as all art teachers, she has an example of a tree that's on the board. This is what we're going to be doing. And of course, the trunk is brown, the leaves are green. And immediately I'm like, okay, but I want the trunk to be red and the leaves to be purple. I don't want it to be like, I don't want my tree to look like everyone else's. I want my tree to stand out. And so I raised my hand. She goes, okay, is everyone all set? And this is what we're going to do. We're going to get paintbrushes. That's probably in second grade. And I raised my hand and I say, can I have red and purple? And she goes, for what? I said, because I'm going to paint my tree. She goes, you don't need red and purple. We're using brown and green. I said, well, I don't want my tree to look like everyone else's tree. And then everyone started laughing. I'm like, I don't want my tree to look like everyone. You put all these trees in the hallway and mine is going to look just like everyone else's. She did not get out red paint. She did not get out purple paint. What I ended up doing is painting a really crazy tree. I think maybe I reversed the colors and did a green trunk and a brown. And of course it stood out and it might have looked weird because we're used to seeing brown and green and the other way around. But you know what? I continued to harbor and nurture my imagination. And I'm asking you, if you have stored yours away, I want you to get it out. So what are we going to do? I want you to, let's just imagine for a moment something that makes you happy. Anything. Think of anything that makes you happy. Whatever it is, that doesn't matter. Think of that thing. Now, as hopefully you have that thing, and if you don't, pause this for a few more moments and then allow that visual to show up. And I want you to visualize the thing. And then I want you to really wrap your visual around all of the details of that experience. Bring in sound, bring in smell, bring in everything you can to really enhance the visual. Relish in that for a second. Notice what you notice. How are you feeling? Do you sense the emotion of happiness surfacing? Do you get a smile across your face? Do you get goosebumps? Do you get maybe tears behind your eyes? Because maybe, you haven't had this experience in a long time. Maybe this person is not here, because I can immediately go to thinking of my grandma, which is my mom's mom, and thinking about how much I love this woman. And I can immediately get happy, and I have a smile across my face. Even as I'm telling you about it, I'm picturing, she had this rocking chair, and she lived in Grosse Pointe Woods, and we'd go down and visit, and I'd be sitting on her lap. I'm probably, let's say second grade, seven or so, 6, 7. And she had this ring that was a birthstone ring, and it was made for her for Mother's Day. And it had all of our birthstones. So it had her birthstone, my grandpa's, my mom's, Jim's, who is my mom married, my stepdad, and then mine and my brother's and my Uncle Larry's, which was her son, right? And it had all of our birthstones. And I remember that she'd be rocking me. I'd have my favorite blanket, and I'd be all cozy, snuggled up with her, and I'd be touching this ring, and I'd be like, okay, this is Grandpa's, and this is Mom's birthstone, and whose is this again? Okay, that's Jim's, and that's mine. I remember mine, and that's my brother's, right? And I just remember, and it just brought me so much joy. It was just this wonderful moment with my grandma, and she was my best friend. Growing up, she was my absolute best friend, and she's gone now. She passed away in 2010, and I just had such great memories. But when I think of her, I get this feeling, these goosebumps. I get tears behind my eyes. I get this big smile across my face. And then, of course, I can turn that quickly into sadness because I miss her every day. And it's been 11 years. She passed away in January of 2010. And it is now January 23rd. And of course, she's been gone for 11 years now. And I still have these great, vivid imagination memories that I can pull from all the time. And I'm asking you to do that same thing. And so through your visual, you should have been able to conjure the emotion. So now let's do that and you can do this on your own with different, just as practice, like what does this mean to think, to use my imagination and create this emotion? Because you are manifesting when that happens. And that is the most powerful thing I can teach you. And as you do that, and as you become better and better and better at that, you will learn how to do it. What happens in my head to create this thing that I want. And you can stand here and you can practice with other emotions. Okay, now I'm going to think of something that makes me really sad. I'm going to think of something that makes me really angry, or something that makes me really excited, and just practice it, relish in it, add some action, add some words, add some sound, add some movement. All of those things will help enhance the experience. Then when you've practiced that a little bit, and you can do that every day, all day long. You can do it anytime that you want to. It's just turn on, I'm going to practice it right now. Turn on my imagination. I'm going to pick an emotion. I'm going to think of something that makes me feel that way until I get a physical response in my body. Now this is the basis of manifesting. This is the basis. So you have to have this foundation in order to really start to physically manifest. So now pick something. If you have something, one of those areas, health, wealth, or relationships, that's feeling kind of negative, remember our scale, and you're feeling something kind of negative, you're -7 about relationships. Now I want you to now, instead of thinking of something that really did happen, I want you to direct your imagination to something that could be. In order for something to change, you have to be open. And in order to be open, you have to be able to visualize something else happening that could change the current state. So if we're talking about relationships, can you imagine yourself waking up every day, lying next to your best friend, hearing "I love you" all day long, laughing together, doing the things that you enjoy with a partner? You know, Amy and I would love to hike, and we love to walk the dogs, and we love to swim, and we love to kayak and travel. So we could picture those things. Think of the things that you want in a relationship. I want friendship. I want love. I want intimacy. I want someone who's sexy. I want someone who's laughs all the time, someone who's smart and funny and understanding and supportive. And make that list. Think of that person and then picture that person. How do you interact with them? What are your day-to-day experiences like, or interactions? What do you guys do together? What is so much fun to do? And then in your imagination and your visualization, do those things. Add voice, add sound, add smells, add all of the senses, and add movement around you. Not just a still image. Because your imagination can go anywhere you want it to go. You can picture riding the back of an elephant. You can picture flying. You can picture swimming in the tropics, right? So now I want you to picture the things that you want in your life. And if you're feeling negative, just move up one step. This is where I'm at right now, because if you're in a really terrible relationship and you're a -7, what's it going to take for you to be a -6? What would have to change? Picture that, visualize that, relish in it. And the first that you're going to, anytime that you're bringing in visualization, if you're in beta state, we talked about the brain waves in the meditation episode, but if you're talking about beta, if you're in the beta brainwave, you might be very restrictive. You might be very resistant to things changing, because our beta is the day-to-day alert. It's like the brainwave that I'm in right now doing this episode, and it's probably the brainwave that you're in listening, unless you're starting to fall asleep. But when we're in beta, we're very protected. So don't do that thing. Don't get on stage, because people might laugh at you, and that could be deadly. Your subconscious mind's only job is to keep you safe. And our conscious mind is what sifts through the world. But there's a strong communication between our subconscious mind and our conscious mind. And our conscious mind wants things to change, but our subconscious mind holds us back. So when we get into that relaxed state, we are less resistant, which is why that meditative state is so powerful. Our subconscious mind is very suggestive at that state and more open. So if I say right now, I'm going to be a millionaire by the end of the month, my subconscious mind is like, no, you're not. Doesn't believe it. But if I get into a meditative state and I start to imagine it, and I start to imagine that I'm reaching many, many people with my podcast, and those people are sharing it and they're talking about it, and then I go and put my course together, and the day I launch it, I sell 1,000 courses at $1,000. That's $1 million. Is it possible? Yes. Do I know somebody who's done it? Yes. Is it possible for me? Yes. That's where I'm trying to take you. That's where I'm trying to get you to go, is just for it to be possible. So adding the detail, engaging all of the senses, and trying to add, is this possible for you? And experience it as it's happening, and as it's happening in real time. It is really, really time to start making changes. And that is my intention and my purpose of this podcast. Every single one of these episodes, it's to get you to just look at something in your life and say, I want that thing to be better. Because in our lives, we are constantly seeking expansion. We are constantly seeking expansion, and you see it all the time. Something that was so exciting, and then all of a sudden that thing's not exciting anymore. We want to move on to the next thing. And it's okay. Give yourself permission. It's okay to move on to the next thing. But it's also okay to stand here to look at and say, what is it? And be a little bit more hands-on in your own life. To be a little bit more involved in your own development of what it is that you're trying to achieve. So I'm asking you to unleash your imagination, to tap into your visualization skills, and to start visualizing your life improving every single day, moving yourself up the scale. Today, what can you improve? What area of your life do you really want to see improved? And what area of your life can you spend a few minutes visualizing the improvement of? Thanks for listening, and if you liked this episode, please take the time to like and share. Also, please visit me on my other social media pages. I'm on Instagram, Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. I'm on Facebook, where we have this community titled Life Mastery Decoded, and it's a community of women and women entrepreneurs where we come together to support one another in sharing our successes and struggles. You can also check out my YouTube channel, where I share my teachings and my personal journey, and it's simply titled Jen Mack, Jenmac. Have a great day, and I hope to hear from you.